the previous video we built this interface where we had contacts being shown in a particular card. We created a contact card for each and every contact that we have. However, the contacts are not dynamic. It's just the same data that is being shown all over again. So what we are going to do today is we are going to take a look at props, and that would allow us to pass dynamic data to each of these contact cards and work with them and display them as such. So heading over to my code editor, I'm going to clean all of this contact list items or our contact cards and ensure that we have only one here. And the next thing we are going to do is we move over to our contact list item, and to add props, what you want to do is you want to bring over your curly braces and you type in the prop name. However, or you can also go with this props and you have to access it using the dot notation. However, I usually go with this, so all I have to do is just add the various things that I want to show in my card. And when we take a look at this card, we have the image, we have the first name, the last name, and then we have the role and company as well, or basically just the role. So that data is going to be passed in, is going to be provided dynamically, and I'm going to fetch that data from my JSON file here, which contains that. So I have an ID, a first name, last name, an email, an image URL, a phone number as well, and then the role. So you can decide to manually write all this by yourself. However, I use a platform called Mokaru to generate my data. So you just have to feed in your various fields and then choose the number of rows that it needs to generate and click on the generate data button over here, and that does it for you. That allows you to quickly get some data to test your systems. So you can take note of that. It's Mokaru, and there it is. Yeah. So let me add my props. Let me just put this at the side and then add the props that I need. So for the props, I need the first name, so F name, L name, and I do need what do I need again? The image as well, and the role. I think that would do it for now. You can decide to pass the whole data to as a prop, the whole object as a prop, and then pick out the various values in it. However, I want to access individual values in there and not the entire object. Hence my destructuring here. So what I'm going to do next is to have this. Since this is JSX, I can write JavaScript directly in my HTML, and all I have to do is essentially put things in curly braces, and then I can call my JavaScript variables here. So the first one I'm looking for is image, which is coming from the props here. So I want the image, then the next thing I want. So you're going to have a look at something here called the template literals. Oh, sorry about yeah. So I'm just going to put my curly braces in there, and then the next thing I'm going to do is F name, then some space, another curly bracket, and then the L name. So this, you can do this as well, or you can do this, or you can do this, where you have F name and then a space as well as L name. So what this allows you to do is you have variables that you want to apply in a string instead of using your normal that's concatenation with the plus sign. All you have to do is just introduce this backticks and the dollar sign with your curly braces. I think it's string interpolation or template literals that you'd have to check it out. Yeah. So you can decide whichever one that you want to go for. However, I think this one is okay. So the next thing I'm going to do here is change. So right now I only have the role, I don't have a company, so I'm going to change the role here. So quickly change that to role. Then I think we are good to go. That's all we need. That's all we need. If by default I want some values to show up when those ones aren't provided, I can list them in here. I can list those values in here. I can have them have some default values over here. However, I don't want that to happen. Just going to have it like this for the meantime, but it wouldn't be bad to just add some default values over there. So right now for the default values, they are just going to be empty strings. So when we take a look at our card now, it's just empty with the meta over there, which is not really nice. So I'm just going to add some random strings over here. Either we use this method or we can use the ternary statements as well to just quickly have basic things show up or a default value show up. So if there is an image, only if there is an image, then show up the image, else just use a default image. So I believe we had you can copy this one URL from here and use that as our default image no matter. Okay, since let me just pick a number, 20. Yeah, that should be our default image if no image has been provided. And for the name as well, if there is a name, so if there is a first name, then provide that first name. Also I'm just going to do, if there is a first name and a last name, then it should provide this, else it should just use John Doe. So let's see how it's looking like. So currently it's using John Doe because we haven't provided those values. Then the next thing is for the role. So if there is a role, it should use the role. However, if there is no role, it should just use a user. So there we have it. The user showing up, we have our default name showing up, we have our default image showing up as well. So the next thing we are going to do is have that the data provided dynamically. So what I'm going to do here is let me just move this to the side and then close this for now. So going back to our app.jsx, we are going to use the concept of for loops, or instead of for loops we are going to use the concept of maps. It's a higher order function in JavaScript that allows you to map through objects, or to map through an array of objects essentially. So we are going to use that to in a layman's term loop through the data sets that we have and then render each object, provide the values of each object to our contact list item. So first off, I'm going to import my data. I'm going to use my data, so it's dummy data. So there we have it, dummy data dot, then we use the map. So it sort of it helps with iteration as well. So I'm going to call it data, and then I want the index as well. The index will be the index of that particular data element, that the object at the time of iteration. You can use that to indicate its uniqueness. However, my objects have IDs with them, so I'm going to leave out the index at this point in time and then focus on the data itself. So let's do that. Let me quickly leave out the data. So just data, and then this is going to be an arrow function that returns an array. The map returns a new array, an array of items. So that's what we are going to do here. Basically we want it to return our contact list item. So take a look at this, and we are getting the squiggly lines are under it. Reason being that we don't have the key, so we need to add a key. So I'm going to add a key prop, which is my data dot id. The id, which is its unique identifier, will be my key. And when we move over to the screen, we have multiples of that, and you can see it's 1, 2, 3. I believe this should be 10. However, if I want to know the number of items, I can just quickly put this, use a fragment, and quickly log out there. I could just just do instead of that, I'm just going to get the dummy data, the length of the dummy data. So I'm just going to do dummy data, and then see how long it is, how many items are in my dummy data, and that's 10. So yes, indeed it is 10. So I'm just going to delete that particular line, and we are good to go. So now we want our names to show and stuff. The props that we added earlier, when I do control and then space bar, we should be able to see the various props that we can use, we can pass data to. So I have f name, I have l name, I have row, and then I have image. I believe that's what we added. So the f name, we are going to do data.f first name, and then mind you, it's picking it all from our data here. Then the last name, we have data, the last name. The row, we have data.row, and then for the image, we then have data, we access the image property, is data.image. So let's take a look at this. Isn't this interesting? This is really interesting. I believe it is. So we have Hussein here. He's a technical writer. We have a Q&A engineer, you have a data analyst. It's all different. We are no more parsing in as much as it's all static data, as in it's not being fetched from a database or anything, but at least we are not hard coding the data into it as we did first, and that is quite impressive. So that does it for today's session, and in the next session we'll look at an individual the individual contact card, where we show each engineer, I would say, or each contact's details in full. Thank you, and see you the next session.